Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to look at how to select individual cells as well as groups of cells such as ranges. We'll look at how to select a specific column, a specific range. We'll look at how to select everything in your given worksheet. We'll look at how to select contiguous or adjacent cells as well as non-contiguous or non-adjacent cells. So if any of these things are interesting to you, go ahead and join us in this video. All right, if you want to follow along, go ahead and open up exercise file 03.04, and that's what we'll be using in this video. Okay, so a couple of these things we've already touched on throughout the course, but we want to review them in full in kind of logical order, as well as add a couple new insights perhaps. Now the first individual thing that we'll look at is how to select one cell. Now, if you want to select one cell, there's two ways to do this. I guess there's many ways to do this, but the two ways that we'll cover is first, you can use your mouse and you can scroll over and then click. That would select your cell. Now, you can also say that we wanted to get here to cell F3. You can use your arrow keys and move to that cell, and then that would be your selected or active cell. Now, if you want to select more than one cell, there's a couple ways to do that. Say that we wanted to select the range here of B2 to F6. Now you could place your cursor here and then left click and then drag while holding that left button on your mouse down, and that would select that individual range, that range of B2 to F6. Now, if you wanted to, you could, as we've done many times in the course, press and hold the shift key, and that too would allow you to select a contiguous range, meaning adjacent ranges or cells. So if I click in this first cell, that of B2, and I want to highlight everything between here and F6, well, I would press and hold the shift key and then click on that cell of F6 and it would highlight everything. All right, well, what if you wanted to highlight a specific column? Like say we wanted to highlight column B. If you wanted to highlight column B, the way that you would do that is you would bring your cursor up, and once you arrive above that first row, in our case it's row 1, it will turn a lightish green, which means that we currently would select column B. If it's over here, it means that we would select column C. So because we want to select column B, we'll put it over that column, that in our case column B, and then we left click with our mouse and it would highlight everything in that row, all the way down to the very, very bottom of the individual worksheet. So we can do this in a similar way for rows. If we wanted to select a row, we can do this with our mouse by pressing and placing our cursor above the row that we want. And then once it turns that kind of lightish green, we would click and it would select everything in that row. Now, there are two keyboard shortcuts that you might want to consider. The first is Shift Spacebar. Pressing Shift Spacebar will allow you to select that row. So again, we have two choices. We can click the number 2 here on the row, and that should select the row. Or we can go ahead and press Shift Spacebar. Now, just like there is a keyboard shortcut for selecting a row, there is one for column. So if you press and hold the Control key and then press the spacebar, that would select the column. So again, we have that way, or we can press Shift Spacebar, or when we've deselected those cells, we can press Control Spacebar. All right, well, what if you want to select an entire range? Well, if you want to select an entire range, you could do that by dragging with your mouse, but maybe you're going to have a range that's really, really large. So there are two other ways to do that. You can select a range by placing your cursor anywhere in that range. So I want to select this set of cells here. I can place my cursor anywhere in the cell or anywhere in the range and press the keyboard shortcut Control A. Control A will select that entire range. Now, if I press it a second time, that of Control A, it will select everything in the worksheet. And this is one of the nuances of Microsoft Excel. So if I'm not in range, so say I am here in cell H4, H4 doesn't have any data around it. So if and when I press Control A would highlight the entire worksheet. So that's a slight nuance. If you're in range and you press Control A, it would select that range. Pressing Control A a second time would select the worksheet. If you're not in range and you press Control A, it would automatically select the entire worksheet. The second way the third way that you can select a particular range is go into your name box here and you can enter the range. So you would enter a range by putting in the first cell you want included. In this case, it would be B2, and then you put a colon, and we want to go all the way to F6. So we type in F6, and then B2 to F6, we press the enter key, and it would automatically select that range. If we wanted to select the range here, say from C8 to something like E10, we could come in here, we could press C8 colon E10, and it would automatically select that range. So there's a couple different ways that you can select cells within Microsoft Excel. Now, so far, we've focused on only selecting cells that are next to one another. So like if we wanted to select this range, we could put our cursor here, press and hold the shift key, and click, and all of the cells would be selected. But what if we wanted to select everything but quadrant 3, or quarter 3, I guess? You can do this by pressing the control key and then individually adding cells, one at a time. Of course, this is probably not the most efficient way, but it's totally fine. If we skip over column 3, that would no longer be part of a selection. So say that we were to add a red font color to that, then these selected cells would have that change, but not column 3. Now I'm going to undo this by pressing Control Z, like we learned in an earlier video. But this demonstrates kind of different ways that you can select items within Microsoft Excel. The last thing that I share is a really great keyboard shortcut, that of Shift Backspace. So currently we have all of these cells selected. If you press the Shift key and the Backspace key, it will deselect everything except your active cell. So let's say I had all of these cells selected. My current active cell here is that of C11. If I want to deselect everything except for my active cell, I would press the Shift key and the Backspace key on my keyboard. So that was a huge amount of information. If you're interested, we will go ahead and take some notes and post them in the second portion here. So we'll make a little slide and post it here. If you're so interested, go ahead and download that in the Excel file. So we will see you again in a few minutes. In our next video, we're going to discuss the idea of using the fill handle within Microsoft Excel and how you can use the fill handle to very quickly input information into Excel. So see you in a few minutes, and as always, thanks for watching.